he was like, "Oh, well, you're wearing shoes made for men." And I was just like, "What are you
Mind
talking
blown.
about?" Mind blown. Like, I wouldn't wear clothes made for men. I wouldn't put anything athletic on my body if I thought it wasn't
Gonna
made for
fit
me in some
correctly.
way. And I was like, well, the marketing tells me otherwise. These are on the women's wall. These are in the women's section of the website.
Hello, my friends, and welcome to Runnah, your favorite local running community. And this week, we're kind of going out of our general locale. We have one of our guests that is Zooming in with us today. And you're from somewhere, is it Ontario, Canada?
Vancouver, British Columbia, West Coast.
Okay. I knew it was one of like the bigger areas, like more popular, like well-known areas of Canada.
Yes.
But definitely a little bit further away from Massachusetts than most of the guests that we have on this show, which is not a bad thing in any capacity.
But my husband's from Massachusetts, and I go there all the time.
You've been to Massachusetts.
Yes.
Yeah. So eventually you might actually get down here, and then maybe we can do like an in-person thing, which would be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I would love that. But we have the founder and CEO of Hettas, a female-focused and also producing running shoe brand, Lindsay Housman. Lindsay, I'm so excited to have you here today.
Oh, I'm so excited to be on your show. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I think this will be awesome just because I feel like most people probably like the general vast like audience probably doesn't know that Hettas exists quite yet because you guys are a pretty young company, as far as I'm aware. And I think this will be awesome to show people, one, that Hettas is a brand that exists, and also that there are shoe brands that are specifically tailored to women's feet, because as you've talked about when we talked in private, and also what the shoe brand is kind of putting out there, women's feet are different than men's feet. And
you're correct.
Important. It's important for us to have like the correct shoes, but I'm excited to chat about that, Lindsay, with you, and also all the other things that we're going to talk about. So very exciting.
Awesome.
Why don't we get started by just your like running origin story, like how you got into running? Because I think that that's going to be a good like springboard into Hettas as a brand and why you pursued making women's shoes.
Absolutely. I like to say I've been a lifelong recreational athlete. So sport and fitness in all forms has been part of my life since I was like 3 or 4. Started gymnastics. Wow. My main sports today are tennis and skiing, and I grew up playing volleyball and tennis and badminton and all sorts of different sports. In my 20s, I did a lot of traveling. And when you travel and you want to keep up your fitness, it's part of my mental health, my physical health, just overall well-being. The easiest thing to do is take running shoes with me. And I did a 3-month trip in Europe, and the girlfriend that I traveled with was a big runner. And so it was really interesting going through that journey, starting on our first 2 cities and not really being able to run very long or fast. And I remember running through Paris thinking, oh my God, I'm going to lose her and the guy we were running with who lived there. And then I'm just, it's before cell phones, and I'm just going to be stuck somewhere on a street in Paris because I couldn't keep up. And then, full circle to the end of that trip where I was, very comfortably running 10 kilometers and feeling really good about what I was able to do. And so I kept that up through my 20s. And then in my 30s, I took a break from running at the beginning, and then I had twins. And when you have twin babies, and you want to, again, keep your fitness, cardio, activity up as part of your, feeling like you, again, the running shoes just come in handy. It's so easy that I didn't need to schedule anything. I like running by myself. I like running to music. And so it made it really easy for me to do that again. And it was a big part of my fitness for 10 years. I developed a foot injury in my 40s, which led to Hettas. And still suffering with a bit of it in my right foot. So, with the impact from running, I kind of had to choose between running and tennis is one as far as my heart and my main sport. But I think everybody, if you're an athlete, if you're training for something, running is just part of your life. And it's part of your life, either for a portion of it or for all of it. And the running community is just so wonderful and supportive and fantastic. And so when I wanted to create athletic footwear for women, starting in running was a no-brainer. It just felt like a place where we could invite people in and people would be supportive and people would help us iterate through different designs. And it's just been fantastic.
Yeah. So let's kind of talk about, you don't have to go into like gruesome detail or in any capacity, but this foot injury, because it sounds like this is kind of the thing that sparked possibly the need for Hettas. So what happened there?
So I've always had bunions. They've never bothered me. And then in my early 40s, I just started having a lot of foot pain and I didn't know what was going on. And there was a period where all I could wear were Birkenstocks, which is very unfortunate when you're also working or going to events or you want to exercise. And so like
you live in like a colder climate too. It's not like super practical, like during the winter months if there's snow.
Yeah. Forget about that. Absolutely. And it was impacting my ability to do simple things like forget running or playing a tennis game or putting on ski boots, like walking my dog, was painful. And so I would literally do whatever activity I was choosing to do that day and just know I was going to be limping home from it. Like I would be in so much pain. And it was really, really awful. And I, was getting different treatment for it. It was also during COVID, so it was a bit more challenging to figure out like the diagnosis and all of those pieces. And my husband kept saying, "I'm just going to have Doug make you a pair of shoes." And who was a colleague of ours. He's now our product partner. He's been in the athletic footwear industry for 40 years. Started in Adidas as their in Asia. He lived there for a number of years. He's from a suburb of Vancouver. And I was like, why is Doug just going to make me shoes? And I remember we had a phone conversation with him and he was like, "Oh, well, you're wearing shoes made for men." And I was just like, what are you talking about? Mind blown. Like I wouldn't wear clothes made for men. I wouldn't put anything athletic on my body if I thought it wasn't made for me in some way. And I was like, well, the marketing tells me otherwise. These are on the women's wall. These are in the women's section of the website. And it's just, he explained his background was in his formal training in shoe design was in Italy, in leather goods. And when you're trained in Italy on more formal footwear, you learn about the differences between the male and female foot. It's part of your training. And he got married and started having his 4 daughters. And he has a very active wife who's in her 60s, plays a ton of tennis. His father-in-law was like, "You need to go get a real job." So he applied to Adidas and went and was working there. And when he started, they handed him one last, which is the shape of a foot. And he's like, "Well, where's the other one?" Because he's been working in this industry where male and female footwear have been so distinct. And they're like, "Oh, we don't do that. Like we make the shoe off of this one last." Yeah. and it hasn't evolved. The innovation in the shoe industry has largely been around materials, both upper materials, midsole materials, plates, speed, and performance, but it has largely been based on men and male anatomy. And even when I speak, there's an independent shoe testing lab called Helix out of San Diego. Dr. Jeffrey Gray runs it. I was speaking with him this year. I said, "I just want to validate something you told me, that 1 in 4 shoes that is tested is a woman's shoe." And he was like, "Correct." So even today, It's wild. Women are making up 50% or more of the athletic population. They are participating in races, they're running. The growth in women's sport has exploded in the last 5 years, but really, since the 2010s, the growth has been exponential. When you look back to in the 1980s, so this athletic footwear industry started in the 70s, very male dominated. Even in the 80s, only 20% of participants were women. I can see logically how this happened. But the fact that there's no transparency around it, and that women have just accepted that unisex, which means made for a man, is for us, is just how we've been trained.
Yeah. Well, we've not really even been given any options either. That's the challenge too, is that obviously your company Hettas is directly addressing this and providing options for people. But I feel like before you, and there's one other shoe brand that still exists is Alice and Felix's brand. I think it's the only one that is still standing currently. That actually cater directly to women and make it known that these are different lasts that you're using, which again, it's just the shape of the model of the foot, that the shoe is shaped around. And also that you're
the way the shoe's
taking into
tested.
women's accounts.
The way
testing with the ladies, you're fitting them for their feet, making sure that okay, this is the correct last we want to be using, because this is the general foot shape of all of these women that we have spoken to.
Exactly. And I think there's just so little research out there on women's biomechanics and performance that knowing how to tune, or, what density of foam do you use? What plates do you use? That is research that doesn't exist. We had to create from scratch a female force profile. So some shoe testing is done mechanically on a machine, where you mimic the force profile of a runner. And the only published force profile when we went to do our testing was male. So we literally had to create a female force profile to be able to test running efficiency, running economy out of the shoe, outside of bringing women into the lab. It was crazy.
Yeah. I don't think people realize just how male dominated the just general consumer industry is on the whole, and including the shoe industry, and also scientific research. Most of the scientific studies that have been done up to date are at least 75% of that is specifically on cis male guys, cis male white men, generally speaking. And a lot of that comes back to in the earlier scientific studies, and even still now, people I don't want to deal with women. They have too many things going on with them. There's too many
the hormones.
There's too many variabilities in their thing. And so they pick the straight white guys and they say, hey, you don't have anything going on with you that's complex. You're not going to have a child. You don't have hormones going on. You don't have a monthly period. There's nothing here. You don't have menopause that you're also going to go through. There's so many less factors when it comes to that. And so scientists have largely in the past, and hopefully not as much going into the future, choose the easier route, because it's easier to control those controllables, because there's just less going on.
I mean, there's a study from 2016 that basically cites that women have largely been excluded because hormones are a confounding variable. That's the language in the study. And it's true. I think the stat around specifically women's sport performance research is less than 6% is the number of studies between 2014 and 2021 focused exclusively on women. And 34% included women, but were not adapted for women's hormones. I think part of the problem with the research is there hasn't been a way to capture women's hormonal variability in a research setting. And, previously a lot of it was done using blood testing, urine testing. That's expensive. It takes a long time. You can't do it on a regular basis, or ovulation kits. And as soon as you introduce an ovulation kit, you are limiting your pool of people to women who are menstruating on a regular cycle, which takes out, if you're on contraception, if you are on If you're amenorrheic or you have red S, it takes out the pregnant women, the postpartum, menopausal, perimenopause. Like, it's just crazy how limiting. And so we are starting to see movement in doing mass hormonal testing for women, but it's new, which I don't think a lot of women realize.
Yeah. I don't think the vast population of like the globe realizes just like how pigeonholed a lot of the scientific research has been like in the past, and hopefully won't be as much in the future. But it's nice to have that scientific research, and a lot of it is still very valid and like usable. But it's definitely extremely biased when it comes to gender specifically on the whole, and a lot of other factors as well too. But it doesn't really benefit women to be basing all of our research and like what we should be doing off of stuff that was guys. So
100%.
It's like, so you have this foot injury, you realize like, okay, I have a friend who can make shoes, and like he let you know like, hey, by the way, these are shoes for men and not shoes for ladies. So do you ask him to make the ladies' shoe then? Is it based off of your foot shape? Is that what we end up doing?
It is not based off. So he, through his career, he left Adidas and started a consultancy where he had a passion project of developing women's specific footwear. So he had already started work and been trying to sell it to different shoe companies as a project, which never moved forward. So we weren't starting from zero. And so Doug, his name's Doug Sheridan. We just started iterating before we even decided to form the company. Oh, what would we do differently if we designed a shoe for women? What would we want to know? It was very clear we would want to do research. We'd want that research to be independent, which is where Simon Fraser University, which is a university in one of the Vancouver suburbs. They came on as our research partner. They have a brand new biomechanics lab called WearTech Labs, and there's a run lab under Dr. Chris Napier that it sits under WearTech Labs. And the timing just happened to be they were about to open this new facility. We were looking at doing a running shoe. Chris had just finished his PhD and was looking to build his research book in female specific running research. And he has 2 daughters. The head of WearTech Lab has 3 daughters. Doug has 4 daughters. This is not a coincidence. Wow. Like the men that have been our allies in this,
they have a lot of daughters.
They have a lot of daughters, and they are all involved in sport. Their daughters are involved in sport, and they've all seen the gaps. And so when we started with fit testing. So Doug was making samples at his consultancy in Asia. It's COVID, sending them here. I'm inviting women that live in Vancouver, because obviously you can't travel, to come to my front yard masked up and try on shoes. We were buying shoes from local run store to get feedback on and test at the same time and understand those. I met a woman at that run store who was looking to do a research project on women in sport. She ended up being one of Chris's students who authored one of our first research papers. It was just like, there was a lot of serendipitous. It seems like
a lot of things were kind of like in place, like ready to rock and roll. They just needed to kick in the butt.
Yeah, exactly. So it was really a very iterative process of trialing different fit shoes to start, trialing existing shoes, understanding where the gaps are, doing 2 research projects with Simon Fraser, doing in-lab testing with Simon Fraser mechanically, as we were talking about with the force profile, to test out different foam densities. We knew we wanted the shoes to be plated. We did not want to use a carbon plate. At that time, we had a hypothesis that it was not necessarily, we knew that it was built for men. And our hypothesis was that those plates actually could be more damaging to women's joints in the long run, just from the impact and the rebound, and just taking our knowledge of using carbon in skis and what differences that makes in flexibility. And so we tested nylon plates, we tested P-box plates, we tested foam densities. And between all of that work with Simon Fraser, people coming by my front yard, and fit and run. At this point, we were having people running in the protos. I think went through 4 iterations of protos and landed at one that we wanted to do a larger test on. Nike does run studies in Vancouver out of UBC. And one of the women who had participated in a Nike run study, usually they're mixed gender, offered to run one for me. And she's was doing her master's in statistics, very science focused, and an avid runner. And she came forward with a proposal. I didn't know what a run study entailed, and we did an abridged version, which was a 6-week training program with runners that run 3 or more times a week. That was really our only, we didn't have a pace limitation, but you had to follow the training program, which was 3 to 4 runs a week, and you had to run in our shoes for the duration. And we did extensive surveying, building off the early survey results, as well as the information we were getting from Simon Fraser University. So we had 65 women. The Nike studies actually capped out at age 60. So I had a number of women coming to me saying, I'm over 60. I want to participate in your study. And I'm like, well, if you pass the health questionnaire, of course you can participate. So it was fantastic. And these women that were between 60 and 70, like they were killing it. They were killing it. Like they were absolutely phenomenal. We only had, and it was during a time of heavy snow and ice and rain in Vancouver, which we were not expecting the snow and ice. We planned for 1 snow day. We had 3 weeks of snow. But we only had 3 women drop out of the study. It was absolutely
That's pretty impressive, honestly. That's a pretty good attrition rate.
It was fantastic. And so out of that study, we had 1 more round of adjustments that we made to the shoe, and then we went to market in late 2023.
Okay. And so you were working on 1 shoe at that time. And what is like the peak, like the first shoe that Hettas came out with? Because this is the one that we're working on currently, correct? In this
the Alma. So we decided to launch with 3 versions. So we had 3 different groups in the run study. And the shoe that we launched with, the Alma, is the same construction, but the foam density varies across all 3. And what came through in the run study was that we couldn't decide which one was best to launch with. And so we knew that the cruise and the tempo were one of those 2 was probably going to be the shoe. And then the speed, there was definitely a place for, because people who loved it. But we needed to make some adaptations to it because the foam was too hard in the one we used in the run study. So we decided, because we had the ability to launch with low minimum order quantities, to launch with all 3 and see what people bought. And it's been really
why not,
like a live science experiment. It's been really interesting. Like we sell about 50-50 online, cruise and tempo. It's pretty much even. In the stores, the retailers where we sell, some stores are heavy cruise sellers, others are stores are heavy tempo sellers. So we sort of see the stores split. So we think there's a place for both.
Why not?
And the people who've been buying the speed, which we typically order in a really small amount, you either love it or you hate it. It is a very, very firm shoe. And for those women looking for a very firm shoe, they've found it, and that's what they want. So it's been very interesting.
Yeah, it sounds like it's been. I didn't realize you guys had launched with all 3 shoes at the same time. I thought it had kind of been like more of a succession, like 1 shoe and then another. But I feel like that's great though too. Like not only are we catering towards women and like making the last and like the force profile, and just like testing it with ladies exclusively, you're also providing options when it comes to that too. Because even though women's feet typically probably are a little bit more similar than not. Not every woman's foot is the same. And not everyone's preferences are the same either. Not everyone's training
No.
cycles are the same, or like the
Yeah.
races that they're trying to run or the distances that they're trying to cover. It's a very diverse group of humans, and it's nice
Yeah.
to like know that you guys are accounting for not only like mechanics and people's biology and just the way that our bodies are, but also like, what do you want to do? What do you want to do in this shoe? You know?
Yeah, exactly. Like what's your use case? What's your cushioning preference? Now, all three shoes are plated, which does make them all they're not a max cushion shoe. And we've been really clear about that in our messaging. And so we are developing right now a half plated shoe. So there's no plate in the front of the shoe, which was based on feedback from an elite athlete that we're working with her rehab from Hagelman's and Achilles surgery. Her medical team had asked us, can we build this for her? And we did.
Yeah.
And then we have had feedback that some people want a more traditional upper. We use a TPU mesh in our upper. It sort of molds to your foot. It's very durable, but it's not what everybody wants to wear. So we've developed a knit upper that will be coming out on this half plated shoe in the summer. And we've also had requests for a slightly wider shoe. So what we did with our last is we played around with it and developed the last that the Cambi, which is coming out in the summer, will be based on is 2 millimeters wider than our existing last. So it definitely makes a difference. I've been wearing a pair of the samples, and I can feel the difference in the 4-foot width and also with the material. So I think that will also provide more choice. And then we will be launching a shoe without a plate, and that will be launching in late 2026, early 2027. So then we'll have even more choice. And our goal really is to be a part of your rotation. So we're not looking for anyone to exclusively wear Hettas. We just want to be part of your rotation of shoes. And have women try something that has been developed specifically for their anatomy and biomechanics.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely fantastic. If people want to find Hettas, like what is the best way to maybe try them out in person, potentially? Because it sounds like they're in some of the local stores closer to you, possibly in Canada.
They're in, so we're currently out of stock. We will have some online stock. It's a great thing. It's a good problem. I keep reminding myself because it's also stressful. We will have some limited online stock through the end of February. And then we are going to start our pre-sale for our new colors in March. And then the retailers that are listed on our website should have stock back in them by mid-April. I'm going to expedite the shipment to the retailers that are carrying us, as well as expedite some online to make sure we get all the pre-sale orders filled as quickly as possible. We do offer a 90-day free trial period. We want this to be risk-free. We know people love like running shoes. There's a lot like you love your running shoe. Like we get this, and it's hard sometimes to try a new brand, particularly and when it's an online purchase, and we want to make sure it's easy for people to try something that's different. And if it doesn't work for them, that's okay. They can return it. Those shoes that are returned or exchanged, if they're returned, we do put them in our demo fleets if they've been used. So we're not creating waste. We want to make sure that we are mindful of the way we're handling this 90-day free trial. And we do see most shoes that have been returned finding new homes. So please try us out.
Yeah. And the shoe stores that are carrying you guys, are they like largely Canadian stores, or are there
There's two in San Francisco. Yeah,
Okay.
so right now we did we wanted to be pretty geographic centric,
Yeah,
just to support the stores. So
it's
the
great.
two stores that do carry us are in San Francisco in the US. In
Hmm.
Canada, there are a couple in Vancouver and Ontario, and two in Alberta. Um,
Okay.
yeah. So we're going to be pretty mindful in our expansion into stores, and do most of the sales through online this year. But understand that people want to try new things. We do have test fleets in Canada and the US, and we have popped
Hmm.
up at events. We do have a partner that we're looking at how to work with more out of the North East, called
Okay.
Ardsley. It's a women's
Oh,
online sports store.
okay. Cool.
And so we're looking at how we can pop up with them when they go to
Hmm.
community events and bring our test fleet so people can try shoes on. So one thing that you could do is follow Ardsley as well as follow our Instagram at @wear_Hettas. We always list where the shoes are going to be for people to try on and who our partner is for that event.
Yeah. And I'll put all the links down below for anyone listening or watching. So that way you don't have to do any other homework except trying to just like scrolling down below if you want to follow where the Hettas brand is going to be heading next, which is very
Yes.
exciting. Well, I
Yeah.
hope that you do start something over in the Northeast over here. So that way we can get easier access and like hopefully some other people who are listening to this can try out the shoes or just head over to the Hettas website once you guys restock, obviously, and
Yeah.
purchase a pair of shoes, which I think is great. I'm excited
And
to hopefully give some feedback to some trial shoes potentially. Maybe
yes,
like
yes,
maybe
absolutely.
destroy something for you guys because I'm
Yeah.
notorious for destroying shoes.
Oh, then you'll be a great test case.
Yes.
And if anyone listening has a suggestion, they have a local shoe store that they think we should meet, we are completely open to learning about where you're shopping and who we should be talking to about carrying our shoes. And you can do that by DMing us in the Instagram account or on the website. There's an email to partners@hettas.com. So if you have any suggestions, feel free to DM us or email us. We love hearing from all of you.
I think that's fantastic. Always being open to like suggestions is honestly just such a nice thing when it comes to working with companies. So I love that you are doing that. I love that your whole company is just like looking to evolve and learn
Yes.
continuously, which is amazing. But Lindsay, that was so informative, so like exciting for the women's footwear industry. I love what you and Hettas are doing. Before we let you go, let's round it out by our little segment I like to do. What shoe do you choose to use? And you can tell me the shoe that lives rent free in your brain. It can be a Hettas shoe. It doesn't have to be, because obviously you're a newer brand, so you didn't start running in a pair of Hettas. We know this much.
Yeah. I mean, I think the shoe, it is a headed shoe. It's whatever one
Uh-huh.
are at my front door.
Okay.
Currently it's the Camby, the half-plated shoe that's coming out. That's
Oh.
my automatic go-to
Okay.
when I'm doing anything active or I'm running around doing errands. So it literally that's the pair I throw on my feet.
Okay. Well, I'm excited to hopefully try out some shoes at some point. Maybe destroy a few prototypes. Uh,
Yeah,
should be
sounds
should be a lot
great.
of fun. But yeah, if anyone wants to check out Hettas, I will put the links in the description down below in the episode. If you're listening on Spotify or if you're watching on YouTube, there will be links down below if you'd like to go check out the shoes and also just go support a wonderful woman owned and woman focused business, which I think is absolutely fabulous. So we love that.
Oh,
Uh,
thank you so much for having me today. It was really a pleasure. I really appreciate
yeah,
it.
I love that you came on. I'm so excited and definitely hopefully we'll have like a Hettas thing here on Cape Cod at some point. I'd love to like if you're ever going to come down here anytime soon, maybe do some kind of like run club thing with the Falmouth
Oh,
Running
that'd be
Club. They'd love
awesome.
to have you.
Yes. Yeah, we were actually supposed to be at the Boston Run Show, but it got canceled this year. So we
Oh, did
were,
it? Oh, because of the
yes.
snow and the
No, they had
storms.
it was because they had a mix up with their venue. So we were supposed to be in
Oh,
Boston. But next time we're in Boston, would love to
yeah.
pop up at in Cape Cod. Would love to pop up at any other interested run clubs. That's something else that we take suggestions on. We want to be interacting with all of you.
Yeah. So send the Hettas team all your suggestions, your ideas, and any things that you think would be useful to them. So very exciting. Lindsay, thank you again for coming on. Friends, if you would like to find anything else to do with Runnah, you can email us at runnahpod@gmail.com or runnahpod on Instagram. And that's going to be the end of the episode for today. And we'll see you guys soon. Bye.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Runnah. This podcast is edited, hosted, and produced by me, Juliana Coughlin. Brought to you in part by the Falmouth Running Club and the Falmouth Community TV station. If you'd like to connect with us, you can find us on Instagram and on TikTok at runnahpod. And you can send us an email at runnahpod@gmail.com. And our original theme music was brought to you by the one and the only wonderful Jeffrey Hutton. And keep up the great work. I'm proud of you.